Assalamualaikum everyone, it's me Hera Noor, and I am going to discuss about author Eugene O'Neil. Eugene O'Neil was great Irish American dramatist of 20th century who revolutionized American theater and also known as American Shakespeare. He was only playwright of America to win Nobel Prize in Literature, and he won Pulitzer Prize 4 times in his life. Actually, before Eugene O'Neil, American drama was based on Persian or melodrama, but Eugene discussed social issues in his plays, and he used vernacular language. Vernacular language means common language. He used vernacular language in his plays, and his theater was realistic, and he was influenced by Norwegian Henrik Ibsen, Russian playwright Anton Chekhov, and Swedish playwright August Strindberg. So friends, somewhere in the writing of any author, his personal life has a great impact. And Eugene's writing was also heavily influenced by his personal life. So, before we discuss his writing style, let us know some important facts related to his life. Eugene was born on October 16, 1888 in New York City, and he died November 27, 1953 in a Boston hotel. His father and mother were both theater actors. O'Neill's father, James O'Neill, was a talented romantic actor. So he was so talented that even his fellow actors admitted that no one could beat James O'Neill. His mother was also a theater artist. So we can say that he had seen the life of theater very closely since his childhood, as he himself once said, "I know only actors and the stage. My mother nursed me in the wings and in dressing room." So as a young man, he also participated in his father's production, where he learned a lot about dramatic writing and theatrical effects. But the greatest impact of his early life was on his writing. Actually, Eugene O'Neill's mother went into depression after he was born because she lost a son before Eugene O'Neil. Eugene O'Neill's mother started taking drugs, and Eugene also had another younger brother, but he spent the first 7 years of his life traveling with his father for theatrical performances, and then he was sent to a boarding school, and he became alcoholic when he was in Princeton University. So somewhere he felt that he was responsible for his mother's condition, because his mother started taking drugs after he was born, and on the other hand his father was busy in the theater, and Eugene himself was suffering from some kind of physical illness and had tried to commit suicide but was not successful. As far as Eugene's married life is concerned, he had 3 marriages. From the first marriage, their son was Eugene O'Neil Jr., and from the second marriage, there was a son Shane and a daughter Elena, and he had no children from his third marriage, but they performed this marriage till the end. And Eugene lost his parents and younger brother in the 1920s. And after the death of his parents and the younger brother, Eugene O'Neill's son, Eugene O'Neil Jr. and Shane also committed suicide because his son Eugene O'Neil Jr. was depressed and Shane was addicted to drugs. Eugene also evicted his daughter Oina from the property because she went against her father's wishes and married a famous English actor, Charlie Chaplin. And at the time of marriage, their daughter was only 18 years old, while Charlie Chaplin was 54 years old. So, in this way, we can see that Eugene O'Neil saw a lot of suffering in his life, and he also had a tumor in the last part of his life that caused his hands to stop working. And that is why he could not write for many years. And finally he died in a Boston hotel in 1953, and he said that his last words at the time of his death were, I know it, born in a hotel room and died in a hotel room. And the pain he has seen in his life and in married life is also reflected in his plays. Eugene O'Neil wrote many one-act plays and full-length plays in his life, but I will discuss some important ones. Eugene's first play to identify him was Beyond the Horizon, written in 1918, which also received the Pulitzer Award in 1920. Later, he wrote Annie Christie, which won the Pulitzer Award in 1920. He also wrote important plays such as The Emperor Jones, The Hairy Ape, All Ghosts Wings, Stolen God, Desire Under the Arm, Lazarus Last, The Great God Brown, Strange Interlude, Morning Becomes Electra, and A Wilderness. Means when we read these plays, it becomes clear that they contain a lot of autobiographical elements, and Wilderness was only tragic comedy that had a happy ending. And his final works, The Iceman Comet, Long Day's Journey into Night, and A Moon for the Misbegotten. These were Eugene's autobiographical works. And then if we talk about the major themes of Eugene's writing, there were a lot of autobiographical elements, but his final works, The Iceman Comet, Long Day's Journey into Night, and A Moon for the Misbegotten, these final works were highly inspired by his personal life. And secondly, Eugene plays dealt with the dark realities of the society, in which it becomes clear that no comfort is possible in such a society, and vernacular language was used in his writing because Eugene is dealing with a common man in his plays, so he has used common language, which is also a realistic technique. As far as the characters in Eugene's play are concerned, his plays did not have the characters that were playing a central role in the society. Maybe that is why he used the vernacular language, because he wanted to bring people from the working class to the forefront of the society. So, through his plays, Eugene portrayed the tragedy of those most affected by American capitalism, and his characters always tried to have a special position in the society, but it was always rejected. And his characters were looking for his identity, but they could not find any kind of identity. This does not mean that Eugene O'Neil he was trying to attain to some kind of spiritual salvation through his characters. No, he just wanted his characters to live their lives to be fullest, but unfortunately they failed. And Eugene was also a psychological dramatist. Eugene was a ceaseless experimenter, and he was also realist, expressionist, and symbolist. And Eugene O'Neil talks about human relationships. When a character goes in through things like alienation, isolation, how do all these things affect his relationship? So we can say that Eugene O'Neil was intelligent with words, but his whole life was unhappy. That's all from my side. Thank you.